Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, the 2021 F1 season was originally supposed to be the start of the sport's new era, with the biggest regulation changes in years set to come into force. But as a result of the impact of the pandemic, those rules were pushed back to 2022, and teams are set to carry over much of last year's car in a bid to save costs instead. However, that doesn't mean everything is staying the same this year, so here are some of the bigger changes coming to F1 for 2021. Usually at this stage of the winter we'd be gearing up for pre-season testing. However, we've got a bit longer to wait this year as the test has been pushed back to mid-March and made significantly shorter. In fact, it's been halved with just 3 days of running across the weekend of March 12th, 13th and 14th. And as if that wasn't enough, the test has been moved from its traditional setting of Barcelona to the desert in Bahrain. Why? Well, with last year's cars for the most part being carried over to 2021 and the sport keen to cut costs, it makes complete sense to reduce winter running and hold the test at the venue of the season opener just a couple of weeks before lights out. Not long to go now, I promise. 2021 is currently set to see F1 embark on its longest ever season with 23 events scheduled between the end of March and mid-December. However, given the current global situation, there is a distinct possibility that number won't be hit this year. At time of recording this, though, 23 races are scheduled. The season will start in Bahrain across the weekend of March 26th to 28th and ending, surprise, surprise, in Abu Dhabi on December 12th. This year, we will also see races taking place at new and returning venues and locations. Saudi Arabia will host its first Grand Prix a week before the Abu Dhabi finale. Zandvoort returns in September to host a Dutch Grand Prix, and Imola is back this time hosting the second round of the championship as, brace yourself, the Made in Italy and Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. That is not going to fit on a thumbnail. Don't ask why, that's what they've gone with. It is also expected that Portimao will be back again taking the current TBC slot, which of course was vacated by Vietnam. On top of all of that, and as a result of the long season, there are some tweaks to the weekend schedule as well. Friday practice has been reduced to 2 60-minute sessions rather than the 2 90-minute sessions, meaning that if we include Saturday morning practice, all practice running will reduce from a total of 4 hours to 3. Race start times have also been altered, with the lights out now on the hour rather than at 10 minutes past, and that means that most European races, for example, will start at 3 p.m. local time. This season sees a number of drivers making their debuts for new teams, with 8 of the 20 seats gaining new bums. Yeah, that's what I went with. Anyway, Carlos Sainz will debut for Ferrari in 2021, replacing Sebastian Vettel, who moves to Aston Martin to partner Lance Stroll. Filling the Spaniard's seat at McLaren will be Daniel Ricciardo, who will team up with Lando Norris. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that lineup. Apparent young driver Fernando Alonso will return to the Enstone team to take Ricciardo's seat, and Haas has an all-new lineup, with the Schumacher name returning to the grid courtesy of the 7-time world champion's son, Mick Schumacher. Yuki Tsunoda will replace Daniel Kvyat at AlphaTauri, and Sergio Perez will take the seat vacated by Alex Albon at Red Bull to partner Max Verstappen. Alfa Romeo and Williams both have unchanged lineups for 2021, and although he hasn't signed just yet, it is expected that Lewis Hamilton will extend his stay at Mercedes, meaning they will also field the same lineup as last year. Therefore, 7 of the 10 teams have made changes. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all shakes out. It's not just the driver lineups that have been switched around though, as a number of teams are also changing. Renault will remain in F1, but the Enstone team, which seems to change its name every other week, will now be known as Alpine. The uninspired Racing Point name, which has always felt like a bit of a placeholder, is finally gone, with the team rebranding as Aston Martin and are set to make the switch to a British racing green livery. Looking forward to that launch. McLaren has waved goodbye to Renault Power for 2021 and has been reunited with Mercedes, a partnership, of course, that they enjoyed a huge amount of title-winning success with in the past, something I'm sure McLaren will be very keen to emulate in the coming years. Honda, unfortunately, will be walking away from the sport at the end of the season, but has promised to go out in style, building a brand new power unit for its final season in the hope of propelling Red Bull to championship glory. Away from the car, Cyril Abiteboul has left Renault and will not head up the Alpine project as originally planned. Ineos has become an equal shareholder in Mercedes, taking on 1/3 of the team, and former Ferrari boss Stefano Domenicali has begun in the role of F1 CEO following Chase Carey's decision to step down. Whilst the majority of the big overhaul has been pushed back a year, there are still changes to the regulations for the coming season. As already mentioned, most of the 2020 cars will carry over into 2021, and teams are limited as to what they can change, once again using a token system for upgrades. However, in a bid to counter concerns that the 2021 cars could create so much downforce that the current spec of Pirelli tyre might struggle to cope, changes have had to be made. The floor has been narrowed by 10 centimeters towards the back of the car, and the slots in the floor have been banned altogether. The rear diffuser has also had its fences trimmed, with changes also for the rear brake duct winglets, and that's all in a bid to reduce overall downforce by 10%. And it's worth a mention, the infamous Mercedes DAS system has also been banned for this year. Despite the bulk of the new regulations being delayed, the cost cap does still come into force this year. Teams will be limited to a maximum budget of $145 million, although that figure could change depending on how many races we see in 2021. But it's worth noting that cap does not include things such as driver salaries and marketing costs. And intriguingly, the new Aero handicap system will also be used for the first time this year. The scaling will be dictated by a team's championship finish from the previous season, with the worst performing team, in this case Williams of course, being allowed 112.5% of the wind tunnel and CFD limits, with the best performing team, which based on last year is Mercedes, receiving just 90%. The allowance will reset later in the year with the scaling based on where each team is sat in the championship come June the 30th. Long story short, teams towards the back of the field will have more time to work on the car in the wind tunnel than those at the sharp end, all in a bid to try and close up the field. But it's not expected that the handicapping will result in much of a change this season. However, the gap between best performing and worst performing is set to increase for 2022, meaning, along with the new look cars, we could see quite the shake-up. It really is going to be interesting to see just how much of a change this handicapping will make this year and indeed going forward. All in all, though, there is a lot to keep an eye on in 2021, but what are you most looking forward to in F1 this coming year? You can, as always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Now, I will be back soon with another video, but if you enjoyed this one, then please do drop a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. There'll be plenty again this year. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.